Hello, this is West Virginia Tim. This is a Gadget cache. It's GBC5 12 seconds. It's been out for 7 years and has 444 favorite points. I've repainted it. I put new tops on it. I put a new backboard. I've worked on it. Finally, I brought it in and just totally rebuilt the whole thing. Gadget caches that are normally out for 7 years are going to require a rebuilding. So stick around. We're going to figure out how to solve this cache, and then I'm going to show you in excruciating detail how to build this cache. So as you walk up to any gadget cache, you're trying to look at it and trying to figure out what I got to do to solve it. What do I got to get in? You know where the log is. There's a lock, and you know the log's there. And so you're looking around and saying, okay, what is it about this cache that I've got to do to get in it? The cache page simply says, do the right thing, and you'll be able to solve this cache. The one thing about this cache, one of the things about this cache that's unusual is there's numbers everywhere and there's holes. So as you look around, you see numbers and holes, and it's completely all around the cache and even on the top. The only thing I can find unusual about this cache is the bottom. It says reads the cache page, has my name painted in, but there's a slot. And if you look up in it, there's nothing in the slot. So the only thing about this whole cache that is unusual is there is a slot. So I know that slot has to have something to do with solving the cache. Knowing that the slot's the only different thing, what caches will do will probably reach their hand up and try to see if they can feel anything. And as soon as they do that, look what happens. Motion detector sees your hand, lights 2 lights. The name of the cache is 12 seconds because the light only stays on for 12 seconds and then it goes out. Okay, here we are when the cache is all apart, not put together, hadn't been painted. This cache is just a hair larger than your normal bluebird house. To be able to get the width for me to be able to put my hand in here, I had to use 1x8. So this is 1x8, 1x8 here. The backboard is 1x8. The board on the top is actually a 1x10. The backboard is about 19 inches long. The sideboard, just to give you an idea, is not quite 14 inches. Usually this is about a 20-degree slope. I've just cut it so that the water drains off the roof, and of course that same angle is cut here on the top board. The key to this cache is its battery-operated motion detector light. Here's a picture of it in Amazon for less than $20. And I wanted to show you this because this is before I disassembled it to fit my purposes. It actually ends up being the perfect light for my needs. It's an LED, which means it uses very little power, will hardly ever burn out, and it uses 6C batteries. That means it'll last for several years, causing me very little maintenance. When it comes time to replace the batteries, I've designed the cache so that I have 4 screws on the front. I simply remove those 4 screws. I can access the motion detector light that is not attached. I'll pull it out, replace the 6C batteries. Another part of maintenance, of course, is our log sheets. I use double-sided log sheets. I make them myself. I can put 4 or 5 in a preform tube. So I can literally get 500-600 signatures before I have to come out and replace the log sheet. Of course, the next thing, we're going to talk about is the top of my cache, and the backboard is covered with fiberglass. So the part that gets most of the weather is the top, and covered with fiberglass is going to last for years and years and years. Hundreds of ways to use this concept. And a lot of you are smarter than I am, so you can use this concept and improve upon my design. But I wanted the light to be in a separate compartment so that when activated, the light wouldn't bleed into any of the other holes. I will end up actually epoxying that to this side here. The motion detector came with 2 lights. I only wanted 1. So, of course, yours you could use 2. But with my design, I took the 1 light apart, took it off, and cut it off, leaving me with only 1 light. Then the 1 light I did have, I wanted to be able to separate it. So the light went, of course, went up here. So I actually cut the wires and added an extra piece of wire in here so that I could put this light anywhere I wanted. Then I just got my Dremel and trimmed this off just to make it clean and to give me more room to fit into my geocache. I measured and I felt about 2¼ inches is all the room that I needed. So what I did, I came up about 2¼ inches and I just put 2 little cleats down here, put a couple finishing nails and nailed them in, put this on here, and this is actually the cavity that the hand is coming up in. Here's a shot of the actual motion detector. It has several settings on it. Be sure you use the one that's active in daylight. And that's what I have here. So when it comes on, as soon as it saw my hand even coming in, then of course the light comes on and it stays on for about 12 seconds. If it continues to see motion, it'll stay on as long as it does. When the cacher puts his hand up, of course the motion detector has to be able to see your hand. So I drilled, I don't know, 1.5, 2-inch hole here. I put a piece of screen over it, epoxied it down. The reason I put the screen here is so when the cacher puts his hand up, I don't want him fiddling or trying to move my light. Bottom board's pretty simple. This is our place where cacher's going to put their hand, and so it's just a board cut out like that. The only thing we haven't examined is our preform tube location. We actually have to build a spot that our preform tube can set in. So because if we don't, you can put the preform tube in here and it can move around in the cache. This allows the preform tube to stay right there in the exact same space. I just made it out of some scrap lumber. Okay, I covered the cache with 2 coats of Bullseye 2, which is a primer sealer. It's ready to be painted now, and I'll normally put a couple coats of paint on it. Then a couple coats of black paint. On these caches, the thing that takes the biggest beating is, weather-wise, is the top and the backboard, the top of the backboard. So I'm using West System epoxy. You be sure to use the 205. It's an exterior blend. I'm going to mix this up really well. Use a very cheap paintbrush. And we'll cover the top and the very top of the other board. I'm not going to cover the whole cache. It's kind of expensive, but this will prevent it from decaying for years and years and years. A normal birdhouse, for me, will last outside for 4 or 5 years. Covered with this West System epoxy, it basically covers the birdhouse in fiberglass, and this birdhouse will probably last for between 5 and 10 years very easily. This cache is located about 10 feet from the back door of our local Comfort Inn. So I'm going to paint it so that it doesn't draw attention to itself. I want it to look old. So instead of buying a gray paint, I'm going to blend white and black to get exactly the look that I'm looking for. I don't mix it perfectly because I want to give it a streaked look. You can blend it to get exactly the look that you're looking for. Any shade of gray and black or white that you prefer. Then after I get it exactly like I want it, and it's all, the paint's streaky, so I'm going to put it on when it's like this and kind of streaky. It gives the cache a great looking look. So I'm going to start on the back, and I'll show you what I end up with here in a second. Okay, so I painted it. I got my gray coat on, but I want to add some texture to it, and this is all personal preference. Some people will hate this look. This is just kind of a West Virginia Tim signature look. You know, colors are blended. It allows you not to be such a good painter because I'm a terrible painter. I just have white, black, and brown here. I wanted to add a little brown into it. So this is, you know, you just come back through and hit it. And I use a cheap old brush. It's got wirely old bristles. Now the back's not even going to be seen, but it allows me to practice my color. But if you look at old Barnwood, it's got a little brown in it. So I threw a little brown in here. And I dip into brown and I can throw it. So personal preference, it's whatever you like and how you want to do it. It gets a good coat of paint on it and it doesn't show your mistakes. You'll be able to see the final product. I'll go and I'll put numbers on all these So I've had a couple people ask me, how do I finish my birdhouses? So this is a good example of how I do it. But it's all personal preference. Do it the way you think it looks best. Hopefully I've got you thinking about how you can use a motion detector to build a geocache. So many different opportunities. This motion detector that I use on this one's it's got so many possibilities. You're welcome to copy this exact idea or use a motion detector and make it your own. This cache has been completely rebuilt, and the new cache now has fiberglass top, fiberglass back. It's got a nice looking paint job. Although it only sits just a few feet from the exit of a very busy Comfort Inn, I'm hoping this cache will last for years and years. Won't you join me by building a gadget cache and making the game better for everyone? Thanks for watching.